How's it going, everyone? Data here, and welcome to our first career simulation of NHL 26, as today we'll be going through the career of Montreal Canadiens star defenseman and 2025 Calder Trophy winner, Lane Hutson. Lane Hutson was drafted in the second round, 62nd overall by the Canadiens back in 2022, and had his rookie season last year in 2024-25, where he put up a 66-point season across 82 games, winning him the Calder Trophy, and also finishing 9th in Norris Trophy votes. And now in his sophomore season to begin 2025-26, already has 11 points in 12 games as of time of recording, close to point per game in his sophomore year, and EA recognizes that as he has an 88 overall here in their October 20th rosters to begin the 2025-26 NHL season. So in this career simulation, we'll be using those rosters exactly where he is an 88 overall. Crazy to see. I don't think we've ever had a career sim where a player is such a high starting overall. And that's exciting because that gives a lot of runway to the 21-year-old who also has medium elite potential and lots more room to grow. To start off the career simulation, Lane Hutson will have 5-star puck skills, senses, and skating, along with 4-star defense and 3.5-star shooting and physical out of the gate. 3 X factors, the elite level of elite edges, and the all-star levels of send it and tape to tape. So from NHL 20 to 25, we've already done over 30 career simulations. I don't think anyone has ever started at such a high overall. We tried to do Lane Hutson on NHL 25, while the Bronco tried simulating it a couple of times. It just never worked out. First and foremost, it's annoying to always see the gray silhouette. Now he has a picture in NHL 26. That's nice. But he kept going to free agency after his contract ran out. He only spent a few seasons in Montreal. So at least in this career sim, we know guaranteed he's going to spend 10 years as a Canadian. Year 1 and 2 of his ELC, plus then the 8 by 8.85 extension that he signed. So we know at the very least, if we're calling the first year of our simulation year number 2 of Lane Hutson, then we know that he's going to make it at least to year 10 as a Canadian, which is nice to see. Will he then stay longer? Will he go to unrestricted free agency when he's in his late 20s, early 30s? Will he be the franchise pillar for the Canadiens and end as one of the greatest, if not the greatest defenseman in franchise history? We'll find out. If you're new to the channel and our career simulations, it is just purely hands-off simulation that we're doing. We're not touching the lines or anything like that. If he gets injured, if he gets buried in the lineup, if things aren't working out, if the team isn't making good decisions, we have no impact on any of that. If you are brand new to the channel, thank you for joining us. We'd love to have you join we're getting there, almost 10,000 subscribers now. At the very least, I would very much appreciate a like on the video, just to help with the performance of it, because these do take hours and hours and hours to do with how slow the game simulates. Let's get started. Feel free to use the timestamps down below if you'd like to navigate between the years of Lane Hutson's career, and definitely be sure to check out the end of the video, which will have all of Lane Hutson's career numbers, possible records that he broke, and so on. So, ladies and gentlemen, Lane Hutson, the first year of the simulation, but year number 2 of his career, 2025-26, starts now. So to begin our career simulation of Lane Hutson, this is certainly a decision right out of the gate from Martin St. Louis, as Lane Hutson will be starting on the 3rd pair to kick off 2025-26 alongside Arbor Jackeye. So we'll see how things change over the course of the season, but he's starting there while also on first unit power play, so at least there's that. Here's your Montreal Canadiens lineup and how it looks. Patrick Laine, of course, the game lists him as a center for some reason. He hasn't taken faceoffs since like 2017, 66 faceoffs, but that's what happens when you have to use the EA rosters. Oh, save me. So we're calling this year number 2. Yes, he appeared in 2 games in 2023-24, registering 2 assists. But we're calling his rookie season year 1 and now his sophomore season year 2. So the points that he has scored so far in the real world get wiped away. His rookie season stats will still count, but starting from October of 2025, the career sim will dictate the rest of his point production. So 3rd pair D, first unit power play to start the season. Let's see how the Canadiens do with Hutson in that position. In Hutson's second full NHL season and the first year of our simulation, the Montreal Canadiens finished 2nd in the NHL with a 51-24-7 record, 109 points, tying the Toronto Maple Leafs, but missing out on the President's Trophy and the division title by a tiebreaker. The point production for Hutson was pretty odd as he appeared in 80 games and scored 6 goals but only had 26 assists for a 32-point sophomore year. He was -2 in the plus-minus, only had 4 penalty minutes and only 2 power play points as well, while averaging 23-16 of ice time. I know he went up to at least the 2nd pair throughout the season. He didn't stay on the 3rd pair. Definitely some odd point production. Don't think that this is going to be typical for the rest of the simulation. I'm very confident that he'll have some wild seasons later that will balance out for the seasons at the beginning being a little weird. So really it's more the career numbers that count. But there you go, 32 points in his sophomore year, moving into the postseason as the 2nd best team in the NHL. In the postseason, the Canadiens unfortunately fell in round number 1 to the reigning Cup champion Panthers, who went all the way back to another Cup final, once again facing off against the Oilers for a third consecutive year. This time, the Oilers win in 7 games to become 2026 Stanley Cup champions. Funny to note as well that both the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs, the top 2 teams in the league, both fall in round 1. In that 7-game series, Lane Hutson registered just 2 assists as a -5 while averaging close to 25 minutes of ice time per night. And here at the end of his sophomore season, he's still an 88 overall. I don't think any of his attributes have changed, but fingers crossed for more growth and hopefully first pair minutes into year number 3. Also, shout out to Ivan Demidov, who won the 2026 Calder Trophy, giving it to Montreal Canadiens players now in back-to-back seasons. Year number 3, Lane Hutson now finds himself on the second pair here in Montreal alongside his new partner, Alexandre Cartier, who he played with a little bit at the end of last season. Hutson is still an 88 overall and now on the first year of his $8x8.85 million extension. Before he was playing like an ELC player, now let's see if he can play like the $8+ million man. Attributes I still think the same as when we started off this simulation, so let's cross our fingers for bigger things. Okay, in year number 3, the Canadiens somehow go from second best in the NHL to 26th as they finish with a .500 record of 36, 36, and 10. Hutson was more productive this season with 7 goals and 36 assists, 43 points in a full 82-game campaign, but a -22 with still just 8 power play points, while still being a workhorse, close to 24 minutes of ice time per night. At the end of his 3rd full NHL season, Hutson is still an 88 overall, so we'll see if the offseason has any growth in store for him. Some good positives moving into year number 4 as Lane Hutson is now up to an 89 overall, still in the second pair in Montreal. I guess that's just how they want to play their defense. And he is now alongside fellow highly touted prospect in the real world, David Reinbacher, who's at an 83 overall. So Hutson and Reinbacher not playing first pair together, but playing second pair together, as Hutson is still listed as a top 4 defenseman. Attributes looking like this. I think some of the defensive ones went up a little bit. Not much to get him up to an 89, but there's still more runway for Hutson and hopefully more career highs. Great bounce back year for the Canadiens in year number 4 as they are back to the top of the NHL, this time winning their division and their conference with another second place finish in the NHL with a 51, 26, and 5 record. Lane Hutson finally now getting to do what the simulation was holding him back from doing. He appears in just 68 games, but in them scores 14 goals and 46 assists for 60 points as a +31 to boot, 7 power play points while averaging 24-21 of ice time. Look at this team. Even Tyler Toffoli's back on the team and scored 47 goals. Are you kidding me? So although Lane Hutson didn't hit the 72 points that he was on pace to score, getting back in the 60s is a huge plus moving into the postseason. And what a postseason it was as the Montreal Canadiens went all the way to the Stanley Cup final here in 2028, but was swept out by the Vegas Golden Knights. They beat the Senators in 6 in round 1, the reigning Stanley Cup champion, yes, another one for the Florida Panthers in round 2 in 5 games, then the Rangers in the Eastern Conference final in 6 games before falling in 4 to Vegas in the Cup final. In those 21 games, Lane Hutson scored 3 goals and 6 assists for 9 points as a +4, while also averaging 22-25 of ice time. Lots of ice time, over 27 minutes for the Norris Trophy winner Noah Dobson, by the way. But yes, Lane Hutson, this is him arriving here in simulation land. Still an 89 overall, but putting up big numbers and helping his team to a Stanley Cup final. So Canadiens fans, get excited. Hopefully more to come. Look at Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Suzuki. Let's run it back. Year number 5, and Lane Hutson is finally up to the top pair here in Montreal as a 91 overall, playing alongside fellow 91 overall Noah Dobson, who just won the Norris Trophy last season. Hutson as a 91 overall is listed as a top 2 defenseman with still medium elite potential. 5-star puck skills, senses, and skating with 4.5-star defense and 3.5-star shooting and physical. Some attributes definitely changing in those 5-star categories as well. As we look at the X factors, the elite edges, and the all-star send it and tape to tape as his X factors. Incredible stuff. First unit power play. The team is continuing to grow, coming off of a Stanley Cup final exit. What does year number 5 have in store? Not quite top 2, but still another strong season for the Canadiens here in year number 5 as they finished 10th best in the NHL in 2028-29 with a record of 44, 30, and 8. Oh, devastating though, as Lane Hutson suffered a major injury which only allowed him to play in 48 games, and he's still injured heading into the postseason. 7 goals and 22 assists for 29 points in those 48 games as a +18, 5 power play points, and averaging 24-40 per night. 4 of his goals were game winners as well, by the way. And that would have been something like a 50-point pace for the season. It's another strong offensive year from the Canadiens. But a broken leg will keep Hutson injured at least until May 8th. So will the Canadiens survive long enough in the postseason for him to come back? Let's find out. But it was not meant to be, as the Canadiens fell in a 7-game heartbreaker against the Maple Leafs in round number 1. Lane Hutson did get to play in Game 7, however. I'm not sure what happened, if he re-injured himself or whatever. It says he's injured. You can't look at the injury report during the offseason, so I'm not sure what happened. But he was healthy enough to play in Game 7. If you look in the game logs here, great feature in NHL 26. Also NHL 25, you look in the game logs. So he was out from February 1st to May 3rd. And on May 3rd, playable injury appears in, how long did it? 26 and a half minutes. Wow. As a playable injury. -2 with 3 shots on net. Unfortunately, not enough to get his team to round 2. And at the end of year 5, he now drops back down to an 89 overall for some reason, and now once again listed as a top 4 defenseman. So hopefully he can bounce back over the offseason and be fully healthy for year number 6. Oh, come on. In year number 6, Lane Hutson, as an 89 overall, he drops back from 91 to 89. The highest overall lefty on the team still is relegated to the 3rd pair. Sanheim Dobson 1st pair, Guhle Reinbacher 2nd pair, and Hutson playing with Adam Engstrom on the 3rd pair. Still getting first unit power play, but come on now. Hutson, as an 89 overall, back to 4-star defense from 4.5, but still the 5-star puck skills, senses, and skating. This has to be a revenge year, bouncing back from an injury. Yet another strong year from the Canadiens, and finally a President's Trophy here in 2030, the top team in the NHL with 119 points and a record of 54, 17, and 11. All the while, Lane Hutson gets buried in the lineup, and even Nick Suzuki was injured for half the season. So in a full 82-game season, Hutson scores just 4 goals and 43 assists for 47 points as a +24 as well. I say just because we've seen what he can do here in the simulation. 8 penalty minutes, 8 power play points, and 21-24 of ice time per night on average. In the postseason, the Canadiens once again fall at the hands of the Florida Panthers as they took down the Lightning in 5 games in round 1, but then fall in 6 to the Panthers in round 2, who go on to yet another Stanley Cup final, but fall to the Stars, who win back-to-back Stanley Cups. Even in this universe, it's all about those tax-free states, man. This is ridiculous. In 11 games, Lane Hutson registers just 2 assists as a +1, 21 shots, no goals, 21-22 of ice time per night, not even being used properly. Martin Saint-Louis, réveille-toi, mon ami. What is going on? At the end of year 6, Hutson back up to a 90 overall. Okay, listed as a top 2D. Hopefully, top 2 minutes moving into 2030-31. On to year number 7, and all is finally right in the world as Lane Hutson is back on the top pair here for the Canadiens alongside Noah Dobson. Hutson at a 90 overall is listed as a top 2 defenseman with his attributes looking like this. Big changes to the Canadiens over the offseason as Nick Suzuki walked in free agency. So can they continue their league dominance, and will Lane Hutson see some new career highs with those top pair minutes? We'll find out. Year number 7 was a bit tighter than the Canadiens would have liked, but they still make the postseason as the 14th best team in the NHL with a record of 46, 33, and 3. Okay, Lane Hutson with top minutes. Look what happens. 78 games played for Hutson, and he scores 12 goals and 50 assists for a 62-point season as a +9. Still just 8 penalty minutes. When's this guy going to get a Lady Bing? 13 power play points while averaging 25-40 of ice time per night. This was Hutson's highest scoring season of the simulation so far, and the highest scoring season of his career since his rookie year. In the postseason, what else is new? As the Panthers once again beat the Canadiens, a 7-game series in round 1. They don't make it to the Cup final though. The Dallas Stars do, however, and they win their 3rd straight Stanley Cup. In that 7-game series, Lane Hutson went point per game. Awesome. 1 goal, 5 assists, and 6 points. I assume that he was injured for game 7. I'm not sure. A +1 with 16 shots, 1 power play point, and 23-36 of ice time per night on average. For Lane Hutson, who maintains his 90 overall, and now at 27 years of age, has his potential become exact elite. So it should be held over the offseason, fingers crossed, and coming off of the best season of his career so far in the sim, we're in hope for more into year number 8. Year number 8, and Lane Hutson maintains his spot on the top pair here in Montreal. What a novel idea. 91 overall. The highest overall defenseman on the team now as Dobson dips to a 90 overall. Goulet Reinbacher at 86 on the second pair. This guy Stone, Jonathan Stone, a draft pick, fourth round pick. Wow, now an 85 overall with Jérémy Poirier on that third pair. French Canadians always find their way back to Montreal eventually. Lane Hutson, 91 overall. 5-star puck skills, senses, skating, 4-star defense, 3.5-star shooting, and physical. Coming off of the best year of the Sims so far. Let's hit it. Year number 8 sees the Canadiens continue their streak of postseason berths with yet another top 10 finish, this year with a strong record of 48, 33, and 1 to finish 10th in the NHL. Hutson appeared in 81 games, scoring 12 goals and 45 assists for 57 points as a plus 16, just 10 penalty minutes, 19 power play points, the most that he's had since his rookie season, all while averaging close to 25.5 minutes of ice time per night. In the postseason, the Canadiens finally take down the Maple Leafs in round 1 in a 6-game series, and then a 7-game thriller against the Buffalo Sabres before falling in 5 games in the Eastern Conference Final to the Hurricanes as they went on their furthest run since that Stanley Cup Final appearance 4 years ago. In those 18 games, Lane Hutson was productive with 1 goal and 14 assists for 15 points as a -7, 1 minor penalty, and averaging a hefty 26.50 of ice time per night. Moving into year number 9, Hutson is down to a 90 overall. Not sure why after the season that he just had, but we'll see if the offseason allows him to bounce back a little bit, headed into what will be the second to last season of his 8-year extension. To begin year number 9, Lane Hutson is still paired up with Noah Dobson, but for some reason on the second pair here in Montreal, as Hutson and Dobson as 90 and 89 overall respectively are behind Goulet and Reinbacher at 87 and 86, but whatever, we'll move on. 90 overall, Lane Hutson at 28 years of age is still listed as a top 2 defenseman, getting that power play time and attributes looking like this. And as I mentioned, the second to last year of his extension. Will he hit unrestricted free agency after that? We'll find out. But coming off of an Eastern Conference Final appearance, the Canadiens will be hungry to go on another deep run. It is another President's Trophy for the Canadiens in year number 9 as they finish atop the NHL with 109 points and a record of 52, 25, and 5. Nothing crazy from Lane Hutson. Shout out to Caulfield and Demidov with 100 plus points each, but Lane Hutson puts up 7 goals and 48 assists for 55 points in 81 games played, plus 29, just 4 penalty minutes. When will this man get a lady bing? 15 power play points, all while averaging 25-12 of ice time per night. In the postseason, the Canadiens continue to have trouble in these long 7-game series as they take down the Lightning in 6 games in round 1, but then fall to the Red Wings in 7 in round 2. In those 13 games, Lane Hutson put up 1 goal and 7 assists for 8 points as a +4, while also averaging 26-31 of ice time per night. Shout out to Cole Caulfield, who had 16 points in 13 games and won the Rocket, the Art Ross, the Ted Lindsay, the Hart. What a year for him. Lane Hutson still has a 90 overall moving into the final year of that big 8-year extension. We'll see what happens after next season, but if I'm Lane, I'm thinking I gotta get to a team where I'm getting top pair minutes. 2033-34, Lane Hutson's 10th full NHL season, and he's back on the top pair as he should be at a 90 overall, alongside Noah Dobson, who's also been promoted back. Goulet and Reinbacher last year were the first pair, now they're the second pair. All right, we won't complain. Hutson at 29 years of age is still listed as a top 2 defenseman with all of these attributes. Moving into the final year of that 8-year extension he signed way back when with a 10-team no-trade clause. I wonder how the Canadiens might be this season. They've been such a strong team year in and year out, but now no more Demidov. He left in the offseason. No Suzuki for a few years now. They have an 81 and an 80 overall as their top 6 centermen. Can Caulfield lead them to greatness? We'll see. But in a contract year, Lane Hutson has top pair minutes, first unit power play. Let's see how he uses the opportunity. Despite the weaker lineup, the Canadiens just squeak into the postseason in year number 10 as the last team in the East to make it, 15th in the NHL, 1 more point than the Blue Jackets, and a record of 42, 35, and 5. A solid enough year from Lane Hutson, who appeared in all 82 games and scored 13 goals and 40 assists for 53 points as a +6 with just 6 penalty minutes, 8 power play points, and averaging 25-45 of ice time per night. And in the 2034 postseason, get ready for this one. The Canadiens win round 1 in a 6-game series against the Sabres, but then fall in round 2 to the Panthers for the 4th time in Lane Hutson's career. The Panthers, now with Ivan Demidov on their team, go on to the Stanley Cup Final to face Nick Suzuki and the Predators, where the Panthers win yet another Stanley Cup and Demidov gets his first ring. Through those 2 rounds, Lane Hutson put up 1 goal and 6 assists for 7 points in 12 games, while also being a +4 while averaging 25.48 of ice time per night. Now at 30 years of age, Hutson has made it to 9 postseasons as a Canadian, 4 first-round exits, 3 second-round exits, 1 Eastern Conference final, 1 Stanley Cup final loss, with his contract now expiring as a potential unrestricted free agent moving into the 2034 offseason. Could it be that he re-ups with the Canadiens to continue towards the second half of his career, or will he try to move elsewhere like Suzuki, like Demidov, and try to win a cup outside of Montreal? Moving into his 11th full NHL season, Lane Hutson does indeed go to unrestricted free agency, and he signs a 7-year contract with the Philadelphia Flyers, paying him $16.55 million per year on a full no-move clause, $115.85 million for 7 years to become a Flyer. A crazy contract. What's even crazier is that he signs it, and Jérémy Lauzon, as an 80 overall at 37 years of age, is going to jump over him in the lineup and take first pair with Emile Andre. Anyways, Lane Hutson at a 90 is paired up with Donovan Sabrango. Very weak blue line for the Flyers, but strong offense. Got to give it to them right here. So we'll see how things go outside of Montreal for the first time. Many very strong regular seasons, but not enough postseason success. Lane Hutson gets paid, and he's now a Flyer for the next 7 years. 5-star puck skills, senses, and skating with the 4-star defense and 3.5 shooting and physical, moving into his 11th NHL season. In Hutson's first year in Philadelphia, the Flyers win the Metropolitan Division. Great way to start things off with a record of 43, 29, and 10, finishing 7th best in the NHL and 2nd in the East, behind only the Montreal Canadiens. Hutson was very productive in his first year as a Flyer, scoring 11 goals and 54 assists for 65 points in a full 82-game campaign, his first time hitting 60-plus points in 4 years, a +19 and zero penalty minutes. What more can this man do to get himself a Lady Bing? 9 power play points while averaging 1 second shy of 24 minutes of ice time per night. And in the postseason for the 3rd year in a row, Lane Hutson falls in round number 2 as the Flyers took down the Senators in 6 games in round 1, but then fell, of course, in 7, how else, to the Hurricanes, who would go on to lose to the Sabres, who won the Stanley Cup. At least they went further than the Canadiens. In those 13 games, Hutson scored 2 goals and 4 assists for 6 points as an even plus-minus. 4 penalty minutes. He was getting angry. And 1 power play point as he averaged 26.38 of ice time per night. Hutson, after his first year as a Flyer at 31 years of age, is still a 90 overall. Very good production. His most productive year of the simulation, and 1 point shy of his career high set back in his rookie season. Could he build on that, maybe with top pair minutes in his 2nd year as a Flyer? Let's hope so. Year number 12 for Lane Hutson, his 2nd year as a Flyer, still a 90 overall, and still playing 2nd pair minutes as Emile Andre's on the top pair for the Flyers. I understand he just scored 69 points, but he's with Jérémy Lauzon, who's a 77 overall at 38. Odd decision, but alright. Hutson's here on the 2nd pair, plus top unit power play, alongside Stanislav Valentenko, who's an 80 overall. Alright. Hutson coming off of one of the most productive seasons of his career, and a 2nd round exit, hoping for more in his 2nd year in Philly. In year number 12, for the first time in 9 years, and just for the 2nd time in his full NHL career, minus when he played 2 games back in 2023-24, Lane Hutson does not make the postseason as the Flyers finish 25th in the NHL. For the first time, Hutson is a part of a team that is sub 500 as they go 36, 39, and 7. The Canadiens, by the way, another President's Trophy. Hutson was productive enough, all things considered, with 6 goals and 45 assists for 51 points in a full 82-game season, as a -14 with 4 penalty minutes, 13 power play points, 4 shorthanded points, and 7 seconds shy of 24 minutes of ice time per night. At 32 years of age, Hutson is still a 90 overall with all those fantastic attributes, but Philly management is going to have to do something about this team if they don't want to waste what's left of Hutson's prime. Year number 13, and this is what we like to see. Lane Hutson on the top pair here in Philadelphia with Emile Andre as his partner. 90 and 86 overall, respectively. There we go. Hutson at 32 years of age is still the 90 overall with those X factors and wonderful attributes. Give him top pair minutes. Give him power play 1. Let's see if this team can make the postseason. The Flyers improve in Hutson's 3rd year in Philadelphia, but are still on the outside looking in as they finish 23rd in the NHL with a winning record, but not enough, of 39, 38, and 5. Hutson appeared in less than 78 games for the first time in 8 years as he suffered a major injury that kept him out till the end of the year. He appeared in just 57 games, and in those scored 6 goals and 30 assists for 36 points. As a -10, just 1 minor penalty as per usual, 9 power play points, and 25-13 of ice time per night. Now at 33 years of age, he has maintained his 90 overall status, very important, but can he get healthy? Can this team build in the offseason? Let's see. Moving into 2037-38, year number 14, and Lane Hutson has missed the postseason in back-to-back years for the first time in his career. So he's a 90 overall, he's top pair, he's first unit power play, and he is hungry. The only issue is the rest of the defensive core in Philadelphia, all between 78 and 80 overall. The forwards are pretty solid, gotta give it to them, but for the defense, it's really just Lane Hutson. After suffering the second major injury of his career, will he be able to bounce back and lead this team to the postseason? 2037-38, let's do it. Year number 14 is another lackluster year for the Flyers as they finished 27th in the NHL with a record of 34, 39, and 9. Lane Hutson finishes 3rd in team scoring, but it unfortunately doesn't mean much as he scores 5 goals and 47 assists for 52 points in 78 games as a -8. Angry this year with 14 penalty minutes, wow. 11 power play points while averaging 1 second shy of 26 minutes of ice time per night. Just to throw it out there, that is the 5th highest average ice time in the NHL as a 34-year-old who still maintains his 90 overall, but after a season like that, could he see a bit of dip over the offseason? We'll find out moving into 2038-39. Year number 15, Lane Hutson's 5th year as a Flyer, and he's still in the top pair here in Philadelphia, maintaining his 90 overall at 34 years of age. Really cool to see, but his exact elite potential has dropped to exact top 4. So that might affect his overall over the course of the season if he does not have a strong statistical year. As a 90 overall, he still has 5-star puck skills, 97 deking, 5-star senses, 5-star skating, and as we always see, the 4-star defense with 3.5 shooting and physical. 3 more years on his contract, including this one, top pair with 80 overall, Emile Andre at 36 years of age. Can the Flyers get back to the postseason, or will it be a 4th consecutive miss? The years just keep getting worse for Philadelphia as the Flyers finish 29th in the NHL in Hutson's 15th season, a record of 35, 42, and 5 to be 4th worst in the league. Hutson got back to 60-plus points for just the 2nd time as a Flyer, awesome to see in a fully healthy 82-game season, 12 goals and 49 assists for 61 points as a +3, 6 penalty minutes, 12 power play points, while averaging 25-42 of ice time per night. Now at 35 years of age, he has dropped to an 89 overall, but a strong statistical season should hopefully keep him in that range moving into what will be year number 16 and the second to last year on his contract in Philadelphia. Having that productive year should keep him in this overall range moving into year number 16, where he will be on the second to last season of his contract in Philly. Year number 16, and there's some hope for Lane Hutson moving into the 2040s as he has now dropped to an 87 overall here in Philadelphia, but he's alongside an 81 overall Byron Rogers, and there's an 86 overall now on the blue line, Ricardo Carter, 86 overall offensive defenseman as well, hopefully to help the offense. So the blue line looking a little stronger in Philadelphia as Hutson as an 87 overall is still listed as a top 2D, but has dropped to top 6 potential. So over the next year or so, probably more overall regression. Now 4.5-star puck skills, still 5-star senses and skating, 3.5-star defense, 3.5-star shooting, and 3-star physical for the 5'9", 35-year-old. I understand, but a strong 60-plus point season last year. Can this Flyers team finally get back to the postseason? Let's find out. So close in year number 16 as the Flyers are just on the outside looking in with the 18th spot in the NHL. 40, 35, and 7 was their record. By the way, what's up in Montreal? Another President's Trophy. Yeesh, what happened to Lane Hutson? A fully healthy 82-game season, but just 8 goals and 19 assists for 27 points as a -34. The lowest statistical season of his career, even in years where he played like 40 games. 82 games, 27 points, -34, 2 penalty minutes, that's nice, 4 power play points, while still averaging heavy minutes at 22-41 per night. At the end of year number 16 here in 2040, he drops down to an 84 overall. I wouldn't be surprised if he drops more over the offseason. The 2040 offseason sees a big dip in overall for Lane Hutson, who begins year number 17 as an 80 overall here in the third pair in Philadelphia, alongside his new partner, Caden Price, who is just a 79 himself. Hutson, at 36 years of age, is down to exact 7th D potential, his best category of attributes being the 4.5-star senses, along with 3.5-star puck skills, skating, and shooting, 3-star defense with a 77 shot blocking, 2-star physical, 72 aggressiveness, not looking good, and down to just 1 X factor as well. I forgot to mention that at the end of last season, the all-star tape-to-tape X factor. So Hutson, with that 7th D potential, 80 overall, third pair minutes. Yes, he's also getting first unit power play. That's nice, but could this be the final year for Hutson in the NHL, as the game usually looks at regressing overall more than anything for whether or not a player will retire? Also, with being the last year of his contract here in Philadelphia, could this be the last chance for Lane Hutson to get a shot at the Stanley Cup? The first thing the Flyers got to do is make it back to the postseason. The Flyers do not make the postseason in year number 17, as they finish 21st in the NHL, finally with a record above 500 of 41, 38, and 3, but they don't make it, as the last spot in the East goes to none other than the Montreal Canadiens. Lane Hutson was on pace for a much stronger year statistically, as he had 2 goals and 17 assists for 19 points in just 40 games, on pace for about 40 points after his lackluster year last season. But for some reason, whether it's injury or overall, he doesn't play in more than 40 games. He was a +8 with 4 penalty minutes, 6 power play points, while averaging just 15.07 of ice time per night, a career low for him. Now at 37 years of age, 80 overall, 6 consecutive seasons missing the playoffs here in Philadelphia. Moving into the 2041 offseason, might he try to run it back with one more team, or is that going to be the end of his road? Year number 18, and Lane Hutson is not done yet. After 7 years in Philadelphia, he goes to unrestricted free agency and signs a 1-year deal with the Chicago Blackhawks for $8.16 million at 37 years of age, as a 76 overall with AHL top 2 D potential, listed as a depth defenseman. He even played 1 game in the AHL to start the year. Now he's been called back up. I guess it was something to do with roster spots or injuries or something, but he's here in the NHL. He still has the all-star X factor for tape to tape. That's nice to see. And you know what? It's a pretty strong D-core, all things considered, in 2041 here for the Blackhawks. They have a 90 overall defenseman. Lev Shinov is still here in Chicago his whole career. The forward core is pretty good. This guy Julien played with Hutson for a number of years in Philadelphia. On the power play, is Hutson getting second unit? Yes, he is. Okay, so there's some hope. This team looks pretty strong. I would think this is likely Hutson's final season at a 76 overall. And after missing the postseason for the last 6 years in a row, we got to cross our fingers for 2041-42. All right, in year number 18, Lane Hutson returns to the postseason as the Blackhawks finish 9th best in the NHL, a very strong season of 45, 30, and 7. Hutson appeared in 74 games and scored 6 goals and 26 assists for 32 points as a -1, 1 minor penalty, 4 power play points, all while averaging 15.49 of ice time per night. Considering his age and overall and all that, I think that's a slam dunk. And in the 2042 postseason, the Blackhawks unfortunately ran into the reigning Stanley Cup champion Utah Mammoth in round number 1, falling to them in a 5-game series. And in those 5 games, Lane Hutson did not make the roster for Chicago, not appearing in a single game for the Blackhawks in that round 1 matchup. Now sent down to the AHL in-game, Lane Hutson at 38 years of age is a 76 overall, so that AHL top 2 D potential, 1-star physical, 2.5-star defense, 2.5-star skating, 3-star puck skills and shooting, 4-star senses, but I would think that it's likely the end moving into the 2042 offseason. And in the 2042 offseason, Lane Hutson does indeed call it a career at 38 years of age. After 18 full NHL seasons and parts of 19 seasons, Hutson calls it a career, having played 1,343 NHL games, scoring 144 goals and logging 705 assists for 849 points in his career. Let's start breaking it all down as Hutson retires at a 76 overall. The attributes that we just saw previously: 66 aggressiveness, 70 shot blocking. It was probably time to call it for the 5'9" defenseman. If we look at his career numbers, 10 full seasons spent as a Hab, parts of 11 seasons in Montreal, 7 years as a Flyer, 1 year as a Blackhawk. Let's look at all these numbers here. Most goals in a season, 14 in 2027-28. His most assists being 60 in his real-world rookie season in 2024-25, and most points also being his real-world rookie season. So in-game, he was never able to match or surpass what he did in his rookie season. season, which I don't think will happen. I think these are okay career numbers, but I think Lane Hutson's going to have better numbers than this. As plus minus was only a plus 68 at the end of his career, his best being plus 31, his worst being negative 34. Only 132 penalty minutes. He had one full season in the NHL where he had 0 penalty minutes, and he had 4 seasons where he had just 1 minor penalty. That is crazy. For his total number of shots, 2,754, 5.2 shooting percentage. 26 of his goals were game winners, 32 came on the power play, 179 of his points came on the power play as well, the most being 26 in his rookie season. 5 shorthanded goals, 19 shorthanded points, averaging 23-35 of ice time in his career, his most being 25-59 back in 2037-38, one of his last seasons. Over 31,600 minutes played in the National Hockey League. He took 8 faceoffs and he won 4 of them. Really, all right, congrats to him. He only threw 368 hits, understandably. Yeah, that makes sense. 1,818 blocked shots, though, very good. 1,026 giveaways to 497 takeaways. If we go look at the postseason stats now, the majority coming with the Montreal Canadiens, 1 showing with the Flyers, and of course the year in Chicago where he didn't get to play. 107 postseason games in his career, all coming from years 1 to 11. 9 goals, 51 assists, and 60 points as a -5. Just 6 penalty minutes as well, always very disciplined in the playoffs. 221 shots, shooting at 4.1%. 4 of his 9 goals were game winners, including both his goals in 2035. 3 on the power play, 12 power play points, 1 shorthanded, 2 shorthanded points, averaging 24.50 of ice time. Anything else here? 37 hits, 154 blocks, 81 giveaways, and 50 takeaways. For his career awards, we know that he just won the Calder in his rookie season in the real world in 2024-25. I'm sure that he had some Norris Trophy nominations when you think about his 60-plus point seasons and all that, but no other hardware for Lane Hutson. So this is one of those rare times where I just said that I think the game is underestimating what Lane Hutson might do. Great numbers for a career from a defenseman, don't get me wrong. In fact, if you put these numbers into the real-world NHL history books today here in 2025, he would be 16th all-time in defenseman scoring with his 849 points. So there's a lot to be excited about, but I think there's even a little bit more. Continuing on in what Lane Hutson did, if we compared it to the real-world history books, amongst defensemen, Lane Hutson's 1,343 games played would put him 20th all-time behind Teppo Numminen and ahead of Marc-Edouard Vlasic. His 144 goals would put him 56th all-time behind Brian McCabe and ahead of Dave Babich. His 705 assists would put him 12th all-time behind Scott Stevens and ahead of Brad Park. And as I mentioned, his 849 points would put him 16th all-time behind Erik Karlsson and ahead of Gary Suter. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the career of Lane Hutson. 18 full NHL seasons, parts of 19 if you include the 2 games he played in 2024, ranging from 2024 to 2042. Over all of those seasons, making $197.66 million. My goodness, offensive defensemen get paid in the EA universe. Now, breaking down his 18/19 seasons, starting off with the Canadiens, drafted in 2022. He plays 10 full seasons as a Hab, parts of 11, 766 games played for Hutson in Montreal in the Bleu Blanc Rouge, 88 goals, 418 assists, 506 points. Those 418 assists, by the way, would put him 10th in franchise history in assists. Now, in the future, you have Dobson, Caulfield, Suzuki, all kinds of production we were seeing in the simulation. Where would Hutson be placed when you include those numbers? Impossible to tell, but in terms of today's numbers, he would be 10th all-time in franchise assists. In the postseason, lots of opportunities with the Canadiens. First and second round exits abounding, but there was that one Stanley Cup final appearance. In all of those, 94 games played, 7 goals, 47 assists, and 54 points. After his time in Montreal, he went to unrestricted free agency and signed a 7-year deal with the Philadelphia Flyers, playing 503 games in Philly, scoring 50 goals and 261 assists for a total of 311 points. However, he only made the postseason in his first year as a Flyer and never again. 13 playoff games in Philly with 2 goals and 4 assists, just 6 points. Unfortunately, wasting a lot of his prime with not a very good team around him. After those 7 years in Philly, he tried one more year going out west to Chicago. 74 games played in his final season, 6 goals, 26 assists, and 32 points as the team made the playoffs, but Hutson did not play in a game. Bringing his career totals to 1,343 games played, 144 goals, 700 705 assists and 849 points. Those 705 assists would put him 12th in NHL history amongst defensemen, and his 849 points would put him 16th in NHL history, again, amongst defensemen. His 82-game career average, if you take his entire career and break it down, what did he do per 82 games? He was good for 9 goals and 43 assists, averaging 52 points per 82 games played. There were definitely some higher seasons of 60 plus, but a lot of weird seasons in the 40s and the mid 50s, where I think in the real world he'd probably have some seasons of the 80 plus, and yes, towards the end something in the 30s and whatnot. And for his career playoff numbers, across 10 postseason berths in his career, Lane Hutson appeared in 107 playoff games, scoring 6 goals and 51 assists for a total of 60 points, mostly all with the Montreal Canadiens. And in terms of hardware, just the Calder Trophy in 2025, I'm sure he finished, top 3, top 5 for some Norris voting in many seasons, but sadly no hardware to show for a very productive career aside from that Calder Trophy in the real world. In sim, no hardware for Lane Hutson. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like, as these simulations take days and days to record and edit. It would be very much appreciated if you leave that like, as well as a comment down here on YouTube to let me know whose career you would like to see simulated next. What do you also think about Lane Hutson's career here in EA land? Will he see more or less production? Is he going to be staying with the Canadiens for his entire career? What do you think? I'd love to hear back. If you want to see some other career simulations on the channel, we have almost 3 dozen from NHL 20 to 25. Check them out in the playlist here at the end card. And make sure that you don't miss out on any more career simulations to come by subscribing and hitting the bell to be notified for those sims, as well as all of our franchise mode episodes, our live streams, and much more here in the channel as we slowly creep closer to 10,000 subscribers. Thanks again for being here. Looking forward to seeing whose career we'll simulate next, and I will see you in the next one.